I grew up in Cleveland, and it's very cold there. Playing piano was an escape for me. It gave me a chance to be imaginative, and people seemed to like it. After I, got pretty good at it by about 7th or 8th grade, I noticed that people responded to it. So I think seeing that kind of response, that kind of visceral response to music, ignited my passion. I've talked to a lot of my heroes. One of the early interviews I did was with, and this wasn't even on for radio, it was just a conversation I had with one of my heroes and mentors, and he gave me some really great advice about music. I'm talking about Andre Watts. He said something I thought was pretty important. He said, always be 100% ready to perform. Never go out anywhere and play something that you feel is not ready, not like 100, 150%, because you never know who's listening. And so I thought that was some really good advice. He also talked about playing music that you believe in. Just don't play something for the sake of playing it because you think people might want to hear it, but play something that comes from conviction, because that's what will speak to an audience, when you believe in something and then you can possibly convince them that it's true. So I thought that was great advice. Branford Marsalis talked about how jazz can be very isolating, or it can live in a bubble. And a lot of people who don't know so much about the music, sometimes the musicians really alienate the people from the music because we're not really communicating with the outside world. We're communicating with one another. So the jazz musicians are talking to one another, the classical musicians are talking to one another, and nobody's really communicating with those people who are on the outside to try to create a bridge between those musics. I think Robert Glasper is doing a good job. I think Jason Moran is doing extraordinarily well in terms of, finding ways of respecting the past and looking at the present and trying to find, ways of creating something for the future. I can point to those two and say, but also on the classical side, I think what Daniel Hope is doing, he's got a festival in Georgia. I think he's doing some great work down there. I mean, there's so many others. I think, Joshua Bell, and the list goes on. I think about the Amani Winds, what they're doing, how they're taking their music into various communities and writing their own music. Recently, I've been listening to this group that I kind of attached myself to back in high school. And they've got this song called, I listened to it probably 5 times last night. It's not classical music, it's not jazz, but it's this group that is from Cleveland, where I grew up, called the Daz Band. And they've got this song called I'll Keep On Loving You After All I've Been Through. And so that's been in my ear this week. I'll keep on loving you. It's a beautiful song. You should listen to it.